All right, guys, I got more stuff on the king for you here. This is the new king in the UK, King Charles. And he was heckled while he was shaking hands of nominal supporters. Let me go ahead and play this for you. This is from Sky News.
Charles, while we struggle to heat our homes, we have to pay for your parade.
Thank you for coming.
The taxpayer pays 100 million for you. What for?
Wow. All right, I want to run that back.
Charles, while we struggle to heat our homes, we have to pay for your parade.
Thank you for coming.
The taxpayer pays 100 million for you. What for?
I mean, that is the most fair criticism I've ever heard in my entire life. So take it for what it's worth. 100 million? Now, is it actually 100 million for the parade? I don't know, man. That seems like a hefty price tag. Even I'm skeptical that that's the actual amount for the parade, but maybe it is. Maybe it is. I don't know. I haven't seen any specific information on that. But what I do have specific information on is this. This is in the New York Times. King Charles inherits untold riches and passes off his own empire. As Prince, Charles used tax breaks, offshore accounts, and canny real estate investments to turn a sleepy estate into a billion-dollar business. Look at these specifics. You're not going to believe how much they're worth. The royal family, that is. King Charles III built his own empire long before he inherited his mother's. Charles, who formerly acceded, never seen that word before, to the British throne on Saturday, spent half a century turning his royal estate into a billion-dollar portfolio and one of the most lucrative moneymakers in the royal family business. While his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, largely delegated responsibility for her portfolio, Charles was far more deeply involved in developing the private estate known as the Duchy of Cornwall. Over the past decade, he has assembled a large team of professional managers who increased his portfolio's value and profits by about 50%. Today, the Duchy of Cornwall owns the landmark cricket ground known as the Oval, lush farmland in the south of England, seaside vacation rentals, office space in London, and a suburban supermarket depot. A duchy is a territory traditionally governed by a duke or duchess. That's hilarious because when I was in high school and somebody said, let's grab a duchy, that meant let's get it's like a little cigar that you take out the guts of it and then you roll up weed with it. So like pass the duchy is like pass the weed, basically. The 130,000 acre real estate portfolio is nearly the size of Chicago and generates millions of dollars a year in rental income. The conglomerate's holdings are valued at roughly $1.4 billion, compared with around $949 million in the late Queen's private portfolio. These two estates represent a small fraction of the royal family's estimated $28 billion fortune. $28 billion for the royal family. On top of that, the family has personal wealth that remains a closely guarded secret. So perhaps they're not worth $28 billion. Perhaps they're worth like, I don't know, $60 billion or something like that. One family. One family. As king, Charles would take over his mother's portfolio and inherit a share of this untold personal fortune. While British citizens normally pay around 40% inheritance tax, King Charles gets this tax-free. And he will pass control of his duchy to his elder son, William, to develop further without having to pay corporate taxes. So not only are they phenomenally wealthy for nothing, they also get it totally tax-free. Something that nobody else in the UK would get. Wow. The growth in the royal family's coffers and King Charles' personal wealth over the past decade came at a time when Britain faced deep austerity budget cuts. Poverty levels soared, and the use of food banks almost doubled. His lifestyle of palaces and polo has long fueled accusations that he is out of touch with ordinary people. And he has, at times, been the unwitting symbol of that disconnect, such as when his limo was mobbed by students protesting rising tuition in 2010, or when he perched atop a golden throne in his royal finery this year to pledge help for struggling families. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. This is glorious. Today, he ascends to the throne as the country buckles under a cost of living crisis that is expected to see poverty get even worse. A more divisive figure than his mother, King Charles is likely to give fresh energy to those questioning the relevance of a royal family at a time of public hardship. Laura Clancy, the author of Running the Family Firm, How the Monarchy Manages Its Image and Our Money, said King Charles transformed the once sleepy royal accounts. Quote, "The duchy has been steadily commercializing over the past few decades," Miss Clancy said. "It is run like a commercial business with a CEO and over 150 staff. what used to be thought of as simply a landed gentry pile of land now operates like a corporation, she said. Okay, look, here's the other thing everybody needs to understand. The Queen had all these, like, jewels and diamonds and things of that nature, and it was just literally, like, pillaged from other places. It was, like, stolen from Africa and places like that. Millions of dollars or billions of dollars worth of goods just flat out stolen, and now they still get to, like, parade around wearing it, showing it. $28 billion, just what we know of. It's way more than that. Let's say maybe $50 billion, right? This is what this family is worth. This is what this family is worth. And this is a point I made on Twitter the other day. This should be sort of the nail in the coffin for anybody, like the 7 people remaining on planet Earth who think we've managed to develop some semblance of a meritocracy. Not only do we not live in a meritocracy, it's closer to an anti-meritocracy than it is to a meritocracy. I mean, how many people who are phenomenally wealthy in today's day and age, you look at them and you go, this person isn't fucking special at all. They're not some mega genius. They're some idiot who tripped over their own dick and fell into wealth, and now they're squandering it, but no matter how much they squander it, they'll still be a fucking billionaire. As some of the hardest working people I've ever met and I've ever known, and smartest people I've ever met and I've ever known, might be living at the poverty line or below the poverty line. I tell this story all the time, but the hardest working guy I ever met in my life is a guy named Kevin who worked like 3 jobs in high school and was living at or below the poverty line. And you look at that and you go, oh, okay, so this really isn't a meritocracy, and we've been lied to. Because that's supposed to be the argument, oh, capitalism at its highest form and highest aspiration is that you've created some semblance of a meritocracy, where it's like, okay, if you do well, it's because you worked hard. You're smart and you worked hard. But that's just not the way it works. I mean, are there some people that do well because they're smart and they work hard? Sure. I mean, you know, you look at surgeons and doctors and scientists or whatever, like but a lot of scientists do poorly, right? A lot of scientists don't make all that much money. So it's a wild system, man. And think about how reasonable that heckle was from this gentleman to the king, and the fact that some people in the audience were still like, boo. Here, I want to run that back one more time. So pay attention to what he says and then the response from people.
While we struggle to heat our homes, we have to pay for your parade.
Thank you for coming.
The taxpayer pays $100 million for you. What for?
He just ignores that. Like, don't act like that's not a legitimate criticism. You know what I would do? I would respect it. And this is still, like, nowhere near as far as they should go, right? But I would respect it if Charles comes out and says, you know what? To show that we are with the people of this country, I'm going to go ahead and pay inheritance taxes on this. So 40% of it, gone. And we're going to put it towards, you know, whatever, for funding the NHS for X more years. I mean, again, they'd still be worth tens of billions of dollars, but at least that'd be something where it's like, that's what's up, man. Hey, that's what's up. You got to give credit. Even though they still have more money than they should have, etc., it's like, hey, that's better than doing nothing. But they're not even going to do that. I mean, it's all a charade, dude. It's all a charade. I think we have gotten to the point where we can say, monarchies are kind of silly, dog. And I got a lot of people who listen to the show in the UK, and I love you guys, but keep it real, monarchies are kind of silly. I understand the US, we have our problems, and our problems are numerous and intense. But this is something, it's amazing to me that it still has a lot of support. And it does. When you look at the polls, for the UK, it still has a lot of support. So anyway, there you have it. I think that's a perfectly reasonable point by the heckler. And when you look at the family wealth of the royal family, it is astounding. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal, Kyle, and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.